Hi, I'm Susan Blain, and welcome to the Dare to Be Vulnerable project. This is a safe place, a safe space to share and talk about our mental health stories. And that's what this project's all about. We are really determined to break the silence, bust the stigma once and for all, remove the shame, and save lives by sharing our stories. We all have a mental health. That's the thing I want to kind of set straight for everybody, because some people are uncomfortable with the term mental health. But here's the thing, we all have one. Like we have a brain health, a heart health, physical health, gut health. We all have a mental health. The question is, where are we on that spectrum? Good mental health, poor mental health. We can have a mental health diagnosis, like I have, and still have good mental health. So it's becoming conscious of our mental health and sharing stories, diverse stories from all walks of life. Because here's another fact, mental health does not discriminate. It doesn't matter your cultural background, whether you're rich or poor, whether you're old or young, what your sexual orientation is, what your religious belief is. It's a human thing. So we're here to share stories, and today I'm here with a great guest and a friend. I'll tell you a little bit about Rob, just a little bit professionally. He's an entrepreneur, and he's been an entrepreneur for over 20 years. He's working right now in a really cool space, advancing access to sustainable grown food with a company called Adaptogen Tech. He's also a mental health advocate and a best-selling author. Rob is a father of 2 young girls. He's a husband, a son, and a brother. Rob has lived through some severe childhood trauma, which resulted in addiction and attempted suicide, and he's here today to share a story. Welcome, Rob.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, good introduction.
Great introduction. So much to unpack.
So much to unpack. And I like to also, so relatability, because that's the first thing I'm going to ask you. Who do you think would best relate to your story? I mean, you're a father with 2 young daughters. You're a husband. You're an entrepreneur. We're many things, right?
Yeah. I think there's, like I said, I guess there's many avenues. There's, I think, anyone who's considered suicide, I think, has related to my story through my book, right? And I've never not responded to someone who's reached out because of it.
Wow.
And that's taxing in itself, but it's an opportunity. And I think what I've seen is people, we live in peaks and valleys, right? This too shall pass.
Yes.
And during the down parts, I think, can be a struggle, right? You don't see the light for a little bit, so I think you worry that you're never going to see it. So it's just, I guess, help through that darkness.
As we share these stories, it's important for us to kind of, go down a little bit, not to share the details, but recognize, when did we realize in our struggle, because I have my own story too, as a teenager, I struggled, and, but when did you first realize that you needed help, or that you needed to do something, that you were struggling, that you needed to reach out?
I think, and I talk about it a little bit in the book, I think I always knew I needed help, but whether to, be vulnerable enough to actually ask for help, was a big thing as a man, with a very masculine father, and in the negative way. I don't think masculinity is bad. I think and that's like a boys don't cry mentality being raised up. So I think I think I struggled with that. I would say the majority of my life I felt I needed help. I just couldn't ask for it.
When did you ask?
When I was struggling, the few years that I write about, I think when I called it a repressed memory, but I think when that surfaced and realized what really transpired in my childhood and acknowledging it, I asked in different ways. I asked drugs
for help.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't judge me. And I think ironically, that helped me get to a place where I could be vulnerable enough to ask a therapist. Like I really had to open myself up to a stranger. I couldn't reach out to someone I knew. I was just too embarrassed. And once I found a therapist, because I interviewed a few, one that just didn't put up with my bullshit and saw right through me, and she was a hard ass. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep her, and I'm gonna be as honest as humanly possible, no matter how embarrassing it is. Just being raw.
Wow.
And that with her, that informed my writing exercise, and that turned into like a journal. And I loved that. I had a passion for writing, and that I think that together with a suicide letter I was working on, really became it really became a big apology for everyone, and then that in itself became a therapy.
Yeah.
And put it all together, with my girlfriend, now wife. She said, if this could be a book, you could probably help a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was a big thing.
It started off, the therapist suggested you start to write. Is that how in your therapy session they suggested that? So
yeah.
So you began that process of writing?
It was journaling, and then it was one exercise in particular where I wrote to my 8-year-old self. I wrote letters to my 8-year-old self, telling me, here, you're supported, you're loved, whatever. And I wrote back. I responded with my left hand, and that is incredibly. Yeah, you're working two different parts of your brain.
Yes.
And because it's an 8-year-old writing, right? So it's like really difficult writing, and those were conversations that I had no idea I had inside me.
Wow. And is that your second book, a series of essays, or was that the part of the memoir?
Oh, that's part of the memoir.
So a memoir on suicide, addiction, and healing. That was your first book.
Yeah.
Wow. So that really became a tool.
Huge. It was only a tool. Like I wrote very graphically and raw and open, honestly, about the suicide attempt and everything going on in my mind when that was happening. But like I was able, because I wasn't planning to share it, I was super honest and authentic and just brutally raw.
So the exercise of just getting it out and onto paper, right? Which we all know is so powerful. Yeah.
And like we often, when we talk about these things, sometimes you joke, right? Humor helps. And so literally there's a little bit of a dark humor in that very heavy subject matter, right? So like, it's a little bit entertaining, at least. But that's how I speak. I like to laugh.
You wrote how you speak.
Yeah.
I love that. What other things have you discovered sort of in navigating through this, your mental health journey, have helped you? What are some of the things that, besides writing as a tool, helped you navigate through? Are there other things?
I'm a big believer in gratitude. Like, I think gratitude is like the trump card. If I'm having trouble, like, and challenges and stuff, like I have a morning gratitude journal, a ritual
every day,
for every single day, for years and years. Even when we travel for 10 months around Southeast Asia, and I had the book every single day. And I started with a simple one, the 5-minute journal, it's called.
I know the 5-minute journal.
It's great. It's fantastic. You just fill in the blanks, right? And then I didn't have them as I was traveling, so they turned into like pieces of paper everywhere, and I just the process. And then I let them go. I didn't for a while. I kept them, but I didn't keep them all. I just sort of kind of let them go, because it's a tool for the moment, I find. But obviously I've done a deep dive into Buddhism, so I do let things go.
Yeah, well, that's important to let things go. So again, another practice, another building your toolbox, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Practices. I know you have one we talked about before. You smile in the morning.
I do every morning.
Like you force yourself literally to smile.
It's a Buddhist prayer. So I write 3 things, or do 3 things of gratitude, and I have a Buddhist prayer that I write out in cursive, on paper, and I meditate. And the Buddhist prayer is, I wake up, when I woke up this morning, I smile, and then I force myself to smile, and I do it every morning, and I look at myself, and I'm alone, and it's ridiculous, and that in itself I find funny. Right?
Yeah.
I just
yeah.
like, all right, I'm smiling. Haven't had coffee yet. Duality happening.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that creates a shift.
Honestly, I it does. It's I do a cold shower, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you smile, and like my whole body is like, oh, it's okay to be happy right now, even though I'm sitting here alone.
I love that.
Yeah.
I remember something else you told me too, that you paying people compliments was something you found very powerful too.
Sure. Yeah, like if I can share, I recently got into a road rage thing. I gave up road rage years ago, and I was probably the most.
I still have a little bit of road rage.
Honestly, with this whole I did a lot of meditation and wishing people well at all times, and like dealing with difficult people. And I was driving my daughter to school. I merged into a lane, and the guy merged in, and I don't know if it was my fault, but like he seemed to think it was, even though I checked. But anyways, like I apologize. Like I just he's honking, and he's like up, be on my rear end, and I'm like, listen, I'm sorry, it was my fault. And he's like, and he just kept on cursing, and I'm like, okay, well, have a great day. That's it. I left it. And I left it, and I felt bad about the whole experience. And I saw someone else on the road with this. Probably doing a plug, but I don't know this person. Had the old Ghostbusters logo, but instead of the ghost, it was a snowman, and it's called Snowbusters. And it was a giant decal. It was really well designed, and I'm thinking, what a great piece of marketing. So I rolled down my window, and I was like, "Did you have that completely designed?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "It's fantastic." And you can tell this is like 7:00 in the morning. He just lit up. He's like, "Thanks, man." He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love it." So I was able to change that energy. And like,
yes,
he's had a great day now, right?
Yeah.
And I had some, unfortunate human.
And you felt good about that because you could feel that your compliment made a shift for him.
For sure.
Therefore, it made a shift for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. If you were to share, and I know that we talked about it before, but your father saying, boys don't cry, but you feel that crying and even just the art of surrendering is a superpower.
I do. It's literally on my hand.
Oh.
I have the word surrender.
Just to remind you.
Just a reminder, yeah. Surrender to the flow of life, yeah.
Yeah, so powerful.
It is, yeah.
If you were to share one kind of tip to those people who are watching, who are struggling, and you've so successfully navigated through, and I know it's like you said, peaks and valleys, and we're always, we're never in optimum mental health all the time.
Yeah,
there's always right.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that, but you've managed to really navigate through a lot of hard things. So, what would you say to somebody that's watching, that's struggling right now?
I think, from the perspective, since we're talking about it from a male perspective, like I'm still pretty competitive. I'm still pretty ambitious. I still like to be at the top of my game, and surrendering doesn't mean, jeopardizing that.
Yes.
Right. It actually empowers that. Right. Like if I can let go of the things I can't control, like I'm good. I can focus on the things that I can. Because I think a lot, especially in the startup space and in the entrepreneurial space, where it's just like we have to be at the top of our game at all times, and that's great, that's fine. But like you have to have time to sharpen your axe. I think meditation helps that.
Yeah.
I think using these tools to address your mental health helps inform your performance.
Yes.
Like I really believe in that. I think being vulnerable, like I think we've had this conversation where I think being vulnerable is a superpower.
Yeah, because
it's hard.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
I'm not saying surrendering is easy, right? Especially if you want to be ambitious and you want to be successful, like to think of the word surrender when you're deeply competitive, it seems like a duality, but it really isn't.
Yes.
I think yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great, thank you so much. Thank you for being here today.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you for participating in these courageous conversations and helping us keep the conversations going.
Yeah. Thank you for doing this. Yeah, I'm so amazed at how quickly this has come this far.
Yeah, it speaks to the work and the timing,
right,
and the need.
So, and the need.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow, I love these conversations. I hope that you heard something here today in our conversation, Rob and I, that inspires you to be vulnerable in your own life, to step up, to rise up, to share. Check out some of the stories on daretobevulnerable.com. We'll be sharing them. If you're watching this on the social media platform, leave us a comment. Share it. Maybe you have your own story. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. Till next time. Have a great day.